Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Sandra. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. And as you can see from the title, today I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I wish I knew before becoming a parent. Now, I am sorry if you can kind of hear a little bit of coughing. It's not an old man. It is my dog. He's sick and he does not leave my side. So today my daughter is napping. So I am taking advantage of having a little bit of time and talking to you guys about some of the things that I wish I knew before becoming a parent. Now, this does not mean that these are things that are going to happen to you or that happen to everybody. These are just specific to me. And this also does not mean that if I would have known these things, I would not have had my daughter. She is a blessing, and I'm so glad that I honestly just put all of my fears aside and I just decided to go for it. So let's start with number one. First thing I wish I knew was that I was gonna have to say goodbye to my social life, at least for a while. So when I had my daughter, I ended up having a C-section, and the recovery was very slow for me, and I don't know if that had anything to do with how my labor actually went. It was a very slow labor. I got induced, but I can make a video about my birth story another day. It took a lot more than the 6 weeks that they gave me at work to really recover from a C-section. If you've had a C-section, I don't know if your experience is anything like mine, but my recovery was very, very, very slow. So I think what happened with my social life, one, I just had a newborn and I would not leave the house until she had all of her vaccines. So anything that I was invited to, I would say no because she didn't have her vaccines. We didn't really leave the house. Even now, my daughter is about to turn 2, and I feel like just now my social life is getting a little bit better, but it's taken me a long time to heal from that, from postpartum, where I felt really alone and really had nobody during that time. So that's what happened to me. I really hope that it doesn't happen to you, but if you are pregnant, please, please, please keep in mind that you're probably going to have to be the one to reach out to people, because people are going to assume that because you just had a baby, you're not going to want to do X, Y, and Z, or they're going to say, oh, she can't. You know, they're going to decide for you things that they haven't even offered to you. At least that's what happened to me. So yeah, that was one of the things that I wish I knew before having a kid, and it was probably one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn. Number 2 is embracing the word no. I had to say no to a lot of things. Like I said, when I first had a baby, it was no to everything. And I'm a rehabilitating people pleaser, so it's still taking me some time to actually get comfortable with saying no. I get a little bit of anxiety whenever I have to say no to something, because I have like this inner dialogue of, oh my god, they're never going to offer this thing to me again. They're never going to invite me because I said no. They're never going to consider me. They're probably going to talk behind my back. And so all of this chatter, right? But after having my little girl, I feel like I got a little bit more comfortable with saying no, because at first I had to, but then I really started evaluating my priorities and taking into account what mattered, and I have been saying no to things that take time away from my family. My family is my number one priority now, and everybody else's wants for me, it really has to be something that's very important to me. And if I already have something scheduled with my family prior, and then this last minute thing comes up, I say no. So I've gotten a lot more comfortable with saying no. I probably say no more than I say yes nowadays, but that's just something that I've learned so far. Number 3 is that sleep is going to become a luxury. Even after getting my daughter to sleep through the night, which was around the time that she was 4 months, I was still really tired. It was, and it comes and goes. I mean, you get your baby to sleep through the night and you're like, yes, I got them to sleep through the night. I'm so happy. And you think, I'm gonna get all this rest now. But in reality, I mean, they start growing, they get growing pains, they get teething, they get sick, and sleep is never the same. So get as much sleep now, and even if we have a second child, I mean, I'm never going to sleep the same again. So sleep has really become a luxury. I don't even get to sleep in on the weekends anymore. My like internal clock already knows that at like 6:30 in the morning I am up. Sometimes I'm up even earlier than that. It's just, I don't know. And I feel like my daughter's clock is in sync with mine, because I feel like I wake up and then she wakes up right after. So yeah, sleep has definitely become a luxury, and that's the thing that I miss the most too. So number 4 is I had to get comfortable with criticism and with unsolicited opinions. People love to give you their opinions about the way that they did things with their kids, and some of the stuff is really, really helpful, but some of the stuff is borderline criticism. I am a stickler for my daughter's sleep, and I was a very, very big stickler for what my daughter ate, especially when she first started eating. I was doing like no refined sugars, nothing processed, everything cooked at home. And it wasn't because I was trying to be the perfect mom. It's because there's so many diseases and health ailments that are linked to the way that we eat, and I did not want my daughter to go through that. I didn't want her to have the same food issues that I have struggled with, and so I really just wanted her to eat healthy, because I wanted that to be the norm for her, and I did not want junk food to be the thing that she reached for. And that was just a value for me. That doesn't have to be a value for you, and you could be a stickler for I don't know, make sure that they're warm enough. But for me, it was just being okay with being criticized for the things that I was a stickler about. So I like to put my daughter down at an earlier time than most people that I know put their kids down, and so I got criticized for that, kind of like made fun of, but it works for me. I work a full-time job, and I want to be able to spend time with my husband, so having that earlier bedtime really gives time for my husband and I to connect for more than just 2 hours, and it gives us time together. It gives me time to get ready for the next day and still be able to get decent rest. So I've really just gotten okay with getting opinions about the way people do things. At first I was like, if somebody tells me something, I'm just gonna go off on them, but it's just part of being a parent. And if you really if there really is something that bothers me, I am willing to speak up and say, hey, your opinion is really not valuable to me. So yeah, it's just something that I've had to learn, and I wish that I would have known that there was going to be so much of it, because I feel like I probably would have gotten myself ready and had maybe banked some responses to some of those things that people just tell you, and you're like, why did you just tell me that? Why would you say that? I don't know. I don't know what people think. I think they forget that they were ever in that situation, and they feel like they handled things a lot better than you're handling them. So, or maybe they really are just trying to give you some good advice, but sometimes the way that they say things is a little rude, and they're critiquing you. They make you feel like a bad parent. But yeah, that's one of the things I wish I knew. Number 5 is it's really hard to make mom friends. I mean, I watch all these shows where there's all these moms gathered together with their kids that are the same age, and they're all having, drinks or tea and just talking, and their kids are playing. Yeah, that's really hard, okay? When I first had my daughter, I was on this app called Peanut, and that was my saving grace. I met a mom on there, and we actually really hit it off, and we would text all the time. Her daughter was actually a little bit older than my daughter at the time, so some of the stuff that I was going through, she had already gone through, and she could give me some very valuable advice. And I really enjoyed that. We never actually got together and met, but it was just nice to have somebody to go to that was almost really, really close to the same stage that I was in. Another thing that I did was join the first time mommy groups, because a lot of their fears were the same fears that that I was having, and so a lot of those mommy groups on Facebook really helped as well. I never met, like I said, with anybody, because I am so like, I do not trust people, okay? I don't know if this person is faking that they have a kid and I'm gonna meet them somewhere, and I mean, I don't know. Like, this whole crazy movie plays in my head, and so to actually meet a stranger somewhere or to go to a stranger's home, that's just not my jam. So I just kept it all strictly on social media or the Peanut app. And that really, really helped me. It's not until now that I'm actually starting to maybe meet a couple of mom friends. We do take my daughter to story time, but nothing has really happened there. And like I said, it's a lot harder. I mean, it's almost like dating. Like, what do you say to this person? Be like, oh my God, we totally hit it off. Do you want to go out for coffee again? Like, I mean, it's that simple, but it's just awkward. I don't know. It's like a total stranger. And what if they say no? It's that fear of rejection. But I'm gonna get better at it, and when I do, I'll let you guys know how I did it, because I haven't figured it out 2 years later. And then finally, number 6 is, I wish I would have known how big a strain having a child was going to put on our relationship. We were in a really, really good place when we decided to try to get pregnant. We were in a very, very good place, and I'm really glad we were, and I was never more in love with my husband than I was when I was pregnant with my daughter. And that was one of the things that I feared, because I had heard horror stories of like women that were pregnant that hated their partners. They could not stand them. So that was one of my fears, but I was really glad that I only just loved my husband more up until that point than I ever had before. But after having my daughter, it was really us both trying to figure out how to do things. We were trying to do new things. We were in this new role, and this baby was taking so much attention from each other that it was really hard to sit down and have a conversation about how I was feeling or my thoughts and my hopes and my dreams, and really just to connect on an adult level, especially at the beginning when you're waking up every 2 to 3 hours or every 4 hours. And then we did things, you know, wrong. Like, we rocked our daughter, so that would take a lot of time to put her down. And then when we finally had time to connect, we didn't have a lot of time together, because then she would wake up. So we could have done things a little bit better, but I never ever realized that it was gonna be so hard to connect with this person that I had known and lived for years. He almost felt like a complete stranger to me, because we wouldn't talk. It was all just baby, baby, baby. What does the baby need? Feed the baby, etc., etc., etc. And so it was a very difficult time, and we had to learn to find each other again. And it took a lot of communication. It took a lot of back and forth. It took a lot of tears. It took a lot of just talking through it. And I'm so glad that, you know, that we saw the light, and we walked towards it, and we made it through to the other side, because a lot of couples end up getting a divorce or end up not being able to come out of that situation. And I'm so grateful that we both stuck with it. It was a very difficult time. I'm grateful that we went through it together, and nobody was there like my husband, and I give God thanks every single day for sending him my way. But if you are pregnant with your first child, honestly, just talk it through. And or maybe you're in it right now, you're in that situation where you just had a baby and it's really hard to connect to your partner, just talk to each other, and, you know, just try to do little things when the baby goes to sleep to connect to your partner. Do things that you guys like together. You guys don't have to go outside of the house if that's not something that you're comfortable with just yet, but just even having a little date night after the baby goes to sleep and doing little fun things like you used to before really helps. But I knew that our relationship could be strained, but I didn't realize that because we were in such a good place that it would be strained after getting to that good place. So yeah, guys, these are 6 of the things that I wish I knew before I had a kid, and I probably have a lot more. If you guys like this video or found some value in it, please go ahead, like, and leave me a comment if like you didn't know one of these, or maybe you already had your kid and you're like, yep, I can relate. So let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.